Outside, the storm grew worse. Still shaking, Ben picked up the receiver and held it to his good ear. He hesitated, then dialed the number. He slid the bookmark back between the pages of the book. The phone was ringing. When Ben opened his eyes, he was lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling. Something smelled terrible and burnt. Thankfully, the rain had stopped, and everything was silent and peaceful. He could go back to his cousin's house now. He wanted to get up, but he felt so tired. The bed, the nightstand, and the dresser seemed terribly far away, as if Ben were looking at them through the wrong end of his telescope. In the distance, he saw the blue telephone. It was off the hook and seemed to be smoldering. Then, through the windows, he saw something that seemed impossible. He saw rain, still pouring down from the sky, streaking hard against the glass. He saw lightning flash, without thunder. How odd, he thought. The storm hadn't stopped. Such quiet rain. It had been so loud before. Where had all the noise gone? Ben tried to yell for help, but no sound came out. He looked around. His mother's room had turned cold and white. Harsh electric lights stared down from the ceiling. Machines and tubes surrounded him. This wasn't his mother's room. A woman dressed in white arrived. She was wearing a little white cap, and a stethoscope hung around her neck. A name tag clipped to her uniform read, Linda. Her eyes were kind. A nurse? Why did he need a nurse? Was this a hospital? How had he gotten here? Ben stared at Linda's mouth, which was moving, but she wasn't saying any words. Why wasn't she speaking? He tried to get up to go to the bathroom, but Linda stopped him. Her mouth was moving silently again. She put her fingers to her lips as if she was saying, shh. He wanted to scream at her to speak up, to tell him what he was doing here, but he was too tired and his head hurt too much. He let her ease him back onto the pillow, and he closed his eyes. He must have cried out, because another nurse came and gave him some medicine. Linda placed her fingers by the side of his head, next to his good ear, and made a snapping noise. Why wasn't there any sound? Linda took out a chart and wrote something down. Ben's eyelids felt heavy, so he let them close. Maybe he was just dreaming. Was it days later, or only a few minutes when his Aunt Jenny appeared? Her eyes were red and watery. She sat on the bed and stroked his hair. He thought he could smell the food she'd been cooking at the lodge as she ran her fingers down his cheek, just like his mom used to do. He watched her lips move. He looked at the nurses talking to each other. His head felt like it was full of leaves. He opened his mouth to say he couldn't hear, but nothing came out. The nurse handed Aunt Jenny a piece of paper and a pen. She wrote a note and handed it to Ben. I know you can't hear. Don't try to talk. Just lie still. Ben's head throbbed. How did she know what he'd been thinking? You've had an accident. You're going to be okay, but you were hit by lightning. Aunt Jenny crossed out 2 of the words and rewrote them. Your house was hit by lightning. The lightning traveled through the wires and into the phone, which you were holding to your ear. Ben rubbed his good ear, or what had been his good ear. Hit by lightning? What had he been doing in his house? Why had he been holding the phone? He tried to remember, but all he saw was a silver locket. Instinctively, Ben's hand went to his neck, but the locket was gone. Janet found you in your mom's room this morning. I'm so sorry, Ben. You have been through too much. Ben tried to sit up to say something, but his aunt gently eased him back and brushed the hair from his eyes. She blew her nose and continued to write. The doctors need to run more tests. We're going to transfer you to the Duluth Children's Hospital tomorrow. Duluth? Ben was going to Duluth? Hadn't he once wanted to go there? He looked at his aunt and had a vision of a glowing yellow curtain. Then the seashell turtle appeared, and an old blue book, and then all the images blurred together. Ben's head and body ached so much that he had to close his eyes again. He must have cried out, because the nurses came with more medicine and adjusted his IV. Slowly, slowly, the pain began to slip away, and the silence swallowed him whole.